Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're tackling a topic that hits close to home for pretty much anyone who has ever had to perform under pressure, the cognitive restoration of sleep. Today, we're setting up the ultimate showdown. In one corner, we've got the time-honored, totally stress-fueled tradition of the all-nighter, and in the other corner, actual biologically driven cognitive recovery. We're going to unpack the source material and figure out why your go-to study strategy might actually be setting you up for failure.
So I want you to be honest with yourself for a second. Did that all-nighter actually work? Think back to your last massive high-stakes exam. You know exactly the feeling I'm talking about, right? The sensory exhaustion, your eyes are burning, that shaky, over-caffeinated mental fog where everything just feels a little off. Now, sure, you might have managed to regurgitate enough facts onto the paper to scrape by, but a week later, did you remember any of it? Probably not. That fleeting success is completely deceptive. It feels like a massive win in the heat of the moment, but honestly, it's just a mirage.
We actually call this the all-nighter illusion. Culturally, staying up until 4 a.m. is worn like this weird badge of honor, isn't it? It gives us this profound, false sense of academic security. When you're racing against the clock cramming, your brain is in full-blown panic mode. It's desperately trying to shove raw data into a container that's actively shrinking because you're so exhausted. This frantic pacing kind of mimics productivity, but the science is crystal clear here. This entire exhausting ritual is built entirely on an illusion.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it breaks down this stark biological conflict. On one side, you have the grueling all-nighter, where you're literally fighting your body's most basic survival demands, and on the other, proper sleep, a fundamental biological necessity. You know, we so often view sleep as a luxury, right? Like it's just a reward for finishing the hard work. But what if a time you spend totally unconscious is actually the absolute most crucial part of your entire study routine?
Well, the source material gives us a definitive, total myth-busting thesis. Listen to this. Proper sleep is more important than an all-nighter for long-term memory. That is the exact quote. This doesn't mean sleep is just some nice-to-have bonus to add to your study habits. If your actual goal is to retain the information you're stressing over, sacrificing sleep is, well, mathematically and biologically counterproductive. You are actively trading away the exact mechanism that makes memory possible in the first place.
Okay, let's take a breath. Step away from the panic of cramming and look at the actual science of recovery. What exactly is cognitive restoration? Well, it's not just resting your tired eyes. We're talking about a highly complex, incredibly active biological process. Your brain isn't just shutting down and doing nothing. It's performing vital maintenance, clearing out metabolic waste. Understanding this really shifts our entire mindset away from pure endurance and into the realm of biological optimization. So the crucial point is right here. Cognitive restoration is the crucial period of brain recovery achieved through proper sleep. Notice those specific words, crucial period and brain recovery. Rest is an active, deeply necessary mechanism. While you sleep, your brain is doing the heavy lifting. It's sorting, processing, and solidifying the day's data into lasting memory. If you cut this period short, you are literally interrupting your brain's ability to save its work. It's exactly like yanking the power cord out of your computer right before a massive download finishes.
And that brings us to a really fascinating kind of counterintuitive insight from the source material, the post-exam recovery window. See, we naturally assume the critical time frame for memory is entirely before the test. But the work of memory doesn't just magically stop the second you hand in your paper. Your brain just ran a massive cognitive marathon. How you treat your brain immediately after that intense exertion completely dictates whether that information evaporates by the weekend or stays permanently locked in for life.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Here is the actual chronological journey of true learning. Yes, obviously, step 1, you have to engage with the material and study. But step 2, proper sleep, is the essential, completely non-negotiable bridge to reaching step 3, long-term memory. You cannot jump the gap. The all-nighter attempts to stretch out that study phase indefinitely, which completely destroys the bridge. Sleep isn't an obstacle to studying. It's the active ingredient that transforms short-term data entry into permanent usable knowledge. Let's lock in the key takeaways here. Number 1, all-nighters guarantee long-term retention failure. Number 2, proper sleep acts as cognitive restoration. It's an active repair process, not just downtime. And number 3, post-exam recovery is what actually locks in that memory. Think about why you're learning this stuff in the first place. You aren't just studying to pass a test tomorrow morning, right? You're building a foundation of knowledge for your actual career. Protecting your sleep is literally the only scientifically valid way to achieve that.
Embracing this requires a complete reframe of how we view closing the textbook. Seriously, choosing sleep over a frantic all-nighter is not giving up on your studies. It's not a sign of weakness. It is a highly strategic move by a focused learner who actually understands their own biology. It's the ultimate victory because you're letting the science do the heavy lifting for you. You are choosing proven cognitive recovery over a culturally celebrated yet completely exhausting illusion. Which leaves us with one final, absolutely vital question to consider. The next time you sit down to study, when the pressure is really on and the clock is ticking late into the night, what are you going to choose? Will you fall back into the all-nighter illusion, fighting your own biology for incredibly fleeting results? Or will you embrace the science of cognitive restoration, close the book, and choose long-term retention? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to apply this science to your very next study session.